afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your Lunch and Learn Hour. I'm Paulette. I'm a part of Brownstone Worldwide, and I'm so happy that you guys are able to join me this afternoon. We have a very special guest that's going to be joining us this afternoon to talk about all things mindset. But, of course, you know, everyone has a story. And so what we're going to be doing is talking to one of the greats, Stanford graduate Val Whiting, a former WNBA player and Stanford All-American, might I add. She's represented the USA basketball on several occasions. And even though Val has a past, she's also got her right now. And that is what we're going to be talking to Val about today. Let's go ahead and bring Val up. This is Val Whiting. You guys, welcome to the Brownstone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy that you could join us. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Paulette.
Yes, this is great. I am so excited because, listen, I have read stories about the Basketball League for Women, and I can only imagine. And I know that that is not the beginning of your story. It's just a part of it, right? And so let's dig deep there because I think that's where a lot of people may remember you from. So quick question. How did you end up in the league? That's a question I would love to ask. What happened?
Okay, that's a good question because how I ended up in the league back in the late 90s is not how people are ending up in the league now.
Yeah.
In 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So when I graduated from college, there was no women's basketball here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go overseas, and I played my first year in Italy,
yeah.
and then Italy and Israel, and then Brazil. And then after I got back from Brazil, there was word that a new league was going to be starting called the American Basketball League, the ABL. So I don't remember, in 1996, the Olympics were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And you had the dream team for the women,
mm-hmm.
and had a lot of they got a lot of exposure, a lot of support. In the ABL, there were, I forget how many teams there were, but they took 9 out of the 12 Olympians were playing in the ABL, which started in '96, and I played for San Jose Lasers. Dawn Staley, for example, was playing for the Philadelphia Rage because she's from Philly. There was a team in Atlanta called the Glory. Teresa Edwards and Katrina McClain played on there. So that was the ABL. And that lasted only for 2.5 years. It ended up folding because at the same time, the WNBA happened. We couldn't compete with WNBA. So the ABL was during the winter basketball season, and the WNBA was during the summer time.
Okay.
And so they're happening at the same time. And as you know, the WNBA had the NBA behind them for marketing and TV deals and all that. So the ABL ceased to exist, and that was in 1998. And then 1999 is when I got drafted to the WNBA.
I see.
So that's how I got to the WNBA. So I was a rookie in the WNBA at 27 years old.
Really? Wow. So what was that like? I've got questions. Were you excited about it? Because now there's another thing that we need to talk about. Even though they had the blessing of the NBA, the WNBA, there was a huge pay disparity, wasn't there?
Yeah, for me, I don't know about other players that maybe like the Olympians and Lisa Leslie's and Rebecca Lobos, but me, I only made $30,000 for my first season in the WNBA. And that was in contrast when I played for the ABL, they paid us 6 figures, which is probably why they went out of business because they were paying us too much. I mean, they didn't want getting the TV deals and the sponsorships. Now the WNBA was in the picture. Yeah, it was like I took a pay cut from making 125 to making 30,000. So that was like a big adjustment as well. And playing in the summertime because I was playing during the regular winter basketball season.
Right. Wow. Oh my goodness. So you were busy year round playing from one league to the other.
Oh, the league folded. So there was no ABL.
Okay. So there was no longer any ABL. We just got the WNBA.
Yes.
Holy cow. And So I've done a little bit of research, and one of the things that I've learned recently is that the WNBA is just now starting to get some of the, I guess, some of the recognition that you guys long since deserved, or long deserved since day one, right? Because
Yeah.
athletes are athletes. I don't care if you're male or female. If you're good, you're good. Okay. And so you played basketball, but something was happening on your personal side while you were playing basketball. And I know that we've talked about that in a little bit ago, and how it was impact. How talk about that if you can, because I'd rather you talk about it than me. What was going on?
Well, during my first year in the WNBA, I played for the Detroit Shock, and I don't know what triggered it, but I fell into a deep depression where I was on and off the injured reserve. Well, injured reserve is when you're injured, they put you on a list.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ready to play in the games, or you don't even practice. So I was on and off the injured reserve because I was depressed. Like, I didn't want to leave my apartment. I didn't want to practice. I remember being on the bench and the coach looking at me to say, "Do you want to go in?" And I'm like shaking my head, no. So I was struggling with depression that season, and then when that season ended, I ended up taking the whole next season off
Wow.
to recover from depression.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty much my WNBA career. I played, not really. I didn't when I took the season off. I didn't do therapy. I know I took medication, but that wasn't, as you know, that's not the whole story
Right.
when you're struggling with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't really work on my healing the correct way. And so I ended up coming back for the next 2 seasons, most likely playing with depression. And then I didn't realize till years later that I was misdiagnosed, that I actually had bipolar
Really?
depression. So yeah, and then when you have bipolar, when you take antidepressants, that makes it worse. That makes you go into mania. And doctors would give me antidepressants, because when when you have bipolar, when you're depressed, you show depression.
Right.
You don't really know, you can't really tell that the person is bipolar. So I didn't get diagnosed with bipolar until like 2011, and I stopped playing basketball in 2002.
Wow. So when you say bipolar depression, can you explain to our audience exactly what that is, or what you were told?
That's someone is bipolar, at least for me. How it shows me is mood swings, rapid mood swings. Like, I have bipolar too, so it's not where I go and partake in risky behaviors like gambling and spending, and it's more of I'm up and down in my moods. So my highs are high and my lows are low, but the highs can be like from one day to another, or even hours. And I didn't understand how I can be sad in 1 minute and then next minute be totally moody,
Right.
or edgy with my teammates, or with my family. And I just thought I was always described as a moody person. Even my college coach would call me moody. So I thought that was just part of my personality. But that wasn't part of my personality. That was part of my mental illness.
Got it. And so when you were diagnosed, were you public about this, or did you just say, okay, I'm going to go ahead with my life, this is what it is, and no one needs to know?
Oh, when I was diagnosed, first of all, even when I took off the season for the WNBA for depression, I didn't tell anybody why. I just said it was for personal reasons. So back then, you dare not say you were depressed, especially in the Black community.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's like a no-no. And then being an athlete, you're supposed to be the strongest of the strong.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of weakness. So no one knew anything about it then. And then I didn't tell anyone about my diagnosis with bipolar until like 2020, when I created a TikTok account. And then how I found out I was bipolar is that I was hospitalized 3 times in the psych hospital in Delaware. That's when I got diagnosed with bipolar. That's when, like, this, you're not depressed, you have bipolar. These are the symptoms. This is what you're going through. And so I, of course, kept that to myself because I was embarrassed. And then 2020 is when I was like, I'm just going to tell people about it and tell people why I took that season off in the WNBA. And I played my whole career with undiagnosed bipolar, and maybe this will help someone. And that's how I came out.
Absolutely. I love that. And so thank you for your honesty and your candor with that, because you brought up something that I think we definitely need to talk about in the Black community. You say that you're sick, or you say, oh, well, I'm depressed. First of all, depressed means you need to go clean the house, or depressed means you need to go wash the dishes, or depressed means you're bored, you need to go find something to do. Ain't no depressed. Go depress them. I heard this a lot when I was a kid growing up, because I was depressed. You ain't no depressed. Go depress them dishes. I'm gonna give you
Mm,
something to be depressed about. I heard that.
mm.
And so the beauty of this time and age that we're in is people are, and especially us in this community, we're starting to open up and understand that mental illness and mental health are truly, they run concurrent. I would say that once you discover that there is something going on, getting the help that you needed, would you say that that has helped you? Absolutely. And that you're able to function more? And what did that look like? And honestly, when you did finally tell someone about it, what was the reaction in your community? What was that like?
Well, for me, when I first got diagnosed, I struggled with it because I felt flawed. Like I felt like
Mm,
something was wrong with me. And then to tell me that I had to take medication, that was really hard because I was
yeah.
at the time I owned a gym and I
Yeah.
was all about, food is your medicine and you know, pharmaceuticals are the bad guy.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it was I struggled with that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
And I had to actually lean into it and also lean into therapy and talking to
Hmm.
someone
Hmm.
and knowing that you don't have to. Therapy doesn't mean that you are messed up. Therapy means you need someone to talk to. Therapy means you're working through some
Right.
um, issues I didn't even know I had. I was also diagnosed with the eating disorder.
Hmm.
I was also diagnosed with body dysmorphia,
Yeah.
and then also borderline personality disorder. So a lot of things that I was going through stemmed from my experiences in my childhood. I was sexually abused when I was a child.
Mm.
I was also bullied heavily. So a lot of things in my past happened in my present, and it was also hereditary
Yeah.
aspect to it because my grandmother um, had issues with mental illness.
Hmm.
So it was just a lot of stuff being thrown at me
Yeah.
when I found out that I was going through all of this, and
Hmm.
it made me. I was angry about it. I was angry
Hmm.
at myself. I
Hmm.
was angry at the fact that I had to, probably take medicine for the rest of my life. Then I
Yeah.
also felt there was a lot of sadness too because I thought about all the people I'd hurt in the past
Oh,
with
wow.
my mood swings and the things I
Yeah.
would say and the stuff I would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting that you say that, because now that you say that, I'm like, I know somebody that does that. That I have actually said, you know what, I need to protect my peace. I don't need to deal with that person. And really, what it could be that they've never been diagnosed, and it could actually be um, a mental health issue that needs additional help. And so we're going to circle back to that question. I'm actually going to write this one down, because I think one of the things, no matter what community that you're in, I think one of the things that we don't do a lot of times, and I can say this honestly, even for me, is we don't seek the mental help that we need. We don't think we need it. And like you just said, I owned a gym. Food is your medicine. Big pharma is not your friend. And then all of a sudden, you need the support from big pharma. So, what were some of the things that you did to dig deep so that you could feel like Val was I'm not going to say normal, but that Val could do what she needed to do on a regular basis for herself? What were some of the things you did?
It actually took me a while to recover from my hospitalizations. It took
Hmm.
me years to feel like myself.
Yeah.
I actually ended up moving. That's why I moved to the state of Washington to be closer to my family, just to have
Yeah.
that support.
Hmm.
And I wasn't confident in my ability to work,
Mm.
so I didn't work for a while. Obviously, didn't even exercise, and for a while, I got worse before I got better.
Wow.
And I got worse before I got better, and it took finally finding the correct I call it cocktail, combination of medication
Mm-hmm.
that were helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because some medications make me tired, some medications will make me gain weight, and you have body dysmorphia. You're like, I don't want anything that's gonna make me gain weight. So
Right.
I would stay away from stuff like that, even if it would
Yeah.
help me. So I was, my mind was still in the wrong place with that.
Yeah.
And so like it took me, I want to say like 5 years until I felt like me again and confident that I could function like I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
function. It was almost like coming back from an injury.
Wow.
That's what it felt like. I was coming back from an injury and
Mm-hmm.
fighting my way back to be, what I felt was a normal me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you finally felt that way, did you feel like you could come back out into the world like you wanted to, or you just kept right on going, or you just woke up one morning and it was like, breath of fresh air? Was it like that?
I think it was kind of gradual. Like when I finally, I guess, had a job and I was feeling like I could, I was sharp. I was myself. Felt intelligent and with it and
Yeah.
confident and stable.
Yeah.
That is when I felt like I was finally on my way. And I'm a parent as well, so just being
Mm-hmm.
there for my kids and having
Right.
them not question which mom is going to show up today,
I
I think
see.
was really important for me as well.
I see. I see. So interesting. I keep hearing a lot because it's so funny. I'm hearing some of my story in this. And then I'm hearing, other people's, children's experiences that I had, right? So I knew my mother suffered from bipolar depression, and she was
Uh-huh.
never fully diagnosed. And that hurt my siblings and I. And then it also hurt the family because this is what we heard a lot, and we hear it a lot in the community, in the Black community. So depression, or some of the signs of it, the outward signs of it, not being able to keep a clean house, or not keeping your kitchen clean and things of that. And we're talking about just plain old depression. We ain't talking about anything else, or not being able to function. So how many other different um uh types of depression had I experienced as a child? So I'm listening to your story. You're talking about your sons and what mom is going to show up for the day. When did you, or did you ever take a moment to stop once you were the 5 years out and you felt better? Did you say, okay, Val, stop here? Who's showing up today? Or was it, I'm just going to allow what's going to be to be?
It was the latter. It's just I'm going to allow it to be. To
Mm-hmm.
be, I just kept trucking forward because
Yeah.
that's just how it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I never even just when I think about my basketball career,
Yeah.
I never even stopped and smelled the roses to see how what I was doing.
Wow.
That was great.
Mm-hmm.
So I just always just kept moving. Whether as long as I'm just moving forward, whether I'm taking 2 steps back to take 4 steps forward, but I
Yeah.
just kept moving and didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I never really took time to think about it, and until I do interviews like this is when
Yeah.
I ponder my past and my path.
Yeah. Yeah. And so allowing yourself to just flow, because that's what this sounds like. I prefer that method. I do that myself. Because I can be a hothead when it comes to family members or whatever, because I
Hmm.
think they know me best, right? So I have learned, I think, in this age range to just go, okay, Paulette, how are you going to present this? How are you going to say that? So you don't even do that. You're just like, let me just allow this to just be. And that's a good place to be in. Do you think that relationships that you had in the past may have been impacted by the misdiagnosis?
Oh yeah, I know for sure. I've ruined friendships and relationships with teammates.
Yeah.
When I think about how I was on different teams
Mm-hmm.
in Italy, when I played in Italy my first year, I still have a reputation as being a crazy player. Like
Mm.
they say my name in that team in Italy, they know me as crazy. So
Really?
yeah, so for sure, like I've ruined a lot of stuff for myself. And
Okay.
I have a lot of regrets, but then I mean, what can I do about it now?
Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness and
Move
move
on.
forward.
Absolutely. And that's what we're getting ready to do at this point, because your life has transcended basketball, and it has transcended your gym that you owned. And so now you're in this new place, and you have a website called I Am Coach Val. Not only that, but you coach folks. So let's start there, because that all of the experiences that you have had have honestly, to me, the way that it sounds, have led you to where you currently are as a coach of sorts. Let's talk about that. What's that about?
I coach athletes and also performers
Mhm.
in mental performance. So
Mm,
how they, so basically in a nutshell, so they can perform at the best when it matters the most.
okay.
You
Okay.
know, so that's on the big stage or in a high stakes game, last
Hmm.
second shot. So people aren't with the, quote unquote choking. So they're playing, free and
Yeah.
playing with confidence and playing calm
Hmm.
and being at their best and supplying them with the tools I didn't have when I was playing, which makes me
Mm,
passionate about it because when I struggled with my game, my confidence and bouncing back from mistakes, I didn't know how to do that. I would dwell
mm,
on things. I would beat myself up,
yeah.
and a lot of that did lead to some of the mental health issues I was having. So I'm just I'm combining like the knowledge that I've learned from books and from being in school, because I'm in school getting my master's in sport and performance psychology
Wow.
with my experiences as an athlete. So I put those two together to help
Yeah.
others.
I love that. So why mental health or mental coaching? um what made you wake up one morning and say, you know what, that would be a great thing? Because listen, let's just keep it real. I want to coach. This is just, the average Joe. I want a coach that's going to help me throw the ball farther. I want a coach that's going to help me jump higher. I want a coach that's going to allow me or help me to dance better, to speak better, to move further on stage. Why do I need a mental health coach?
So it's not mental health because that would be
Very
like a
good.
therapist.
Yep.
It would be a mental performance or a mindset or a
Okay.
mental game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because sports is 90% mental.
Mm.
You know, it's 10% physical, and
Mm-hmm.
the best players, the best athletes, the best
Mm-hmm.
performers are the ones that have that Mamba mentality, like Kobe Bryant had.
Right.
Um, have that, are mentally tough,
Mm-hmm.
have confidence, know how to bounce back from mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
know how to talk to themselves properly when things are aren't going well.
Ah,
Those are the ones that are performing well. I mean, and when you get to a certain level,
yeah.
all the physical attributes are all the same. We're all the same physically.
Mm.
When you get to a certain level, we all run fast, we all jump high, we all can throw the ball far.
Okay.
But what distinguishes you from the person next to you? And that's your mindset.
Mm.
And that's what I think what a lot of people are just now starting to realize. And what, like I said, what I struggled with when I was an athlete
Yeah.
was my mental game as well as my mental health. And my mental game was not on point.
Mm. Okay. Okay. So now I get it. I like that. So I've taken some notes while you were talking, and I like what you said about mental performance, um, and it's helping you to gain the confidence that you need. Performance at your best when it matters the most. When does it matter the most?
It matters the most when maybe you're a high school player and
Hmm.
there's a college scout that's coming to see you specifically for your game. I mean, for you to play. How do you perform? Are you thinking about that when you're performing? Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Or do you have performance anxiety because that person's in the crowd watching you? Or are you staying in the moment? Are you playing carefree and calm
Hmm.
and confident and not thinking about outside factors and just still totally focusing on what you need to do to be at your best? So that's an example.
Hmm.
Or your team is down two with 10 seconds to go, and
Yeah.
you are the person who's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that ball, are you nervous and you don't believe in yourself, or do you trust in your skills and know you've done this before? You practice this shot 100 times, and this is your moment. So those are the times when that, when, like I said, you're going to be at your best when it matters, the most. We can even translate it to the corporate world.
Right.
The CEO's in the room, and you got to give a presentation. You got to sell him or her on a
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
Do you kill it, or do you fumble the bag? So
Right.
it could translate to anything.
Yeah, and I fumbled a few, not being confident. So, are there steps to this? Do you require one-on-ones? Do you do this in a group setting? Are is this something where you can take a group of kids or a group of students or athletes and do this as a group setting? How does that work?
It could be both. It could definitely be in a group setting. The problem with a group is that um, everybody doesn't get what they need individually.
Right.
If there's some other issues going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but right now I'm mostly doing it in one-on-one. My ultimate goal is to be that person for women's basketball that's like people call in to work with their
I love
team.
it. I
That
love
that's
that.
what I would love to be, because I
Yeah.
have a mentor named Dr. Joe Carr, a brother. He's like the guy for men's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Like they call
Hmm.
him in to work with a team for the whole year, not
I
on
love
just
that.
not just mental performance individually, but also
Yeah.
team dynamic and
Yeah.
culture
Mm-hmm.
and chemistry.
I love that. So why does that name sound so familiar to me? My goodness.
I don't know. He's been around for like he's 75 years old, and I was
Okay.
like, "Hey Doc, is it too late for me? I'm just kind of getting started in this." Like, no, no, Val, you're young. I'm 75, and
Right.
I'm still doing this. So that was like inspirational to
Mm-hmm.
me when I was thinking about,
Absolutely.
this time of my season and,
Yeah.
starting all over with this.
And I love the fact that you're open and willing to say you're starting all over. And I know in our green room conversation, I talked about both of us being in the same age range. And I find it to be that most of us at this age are having that conversation with ourselves where we're like, you know what? It's time for me to do something different, or impactful, because what you're talking about doing is impactful. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, how many young people or just folks in general need someone that is going to help them to be their best selves mentally? That is a gift, to be able to do that, where you can talk to a group of people or do that one-on-one coaching and support someone to the point where they can, they believe that they can literally walk through the brick wall, and that takes a special skill to be able to do that. But I am going to suggest to you this, and the beauty of this, and I'm listening to your story, I've read it, but to listen to you share with us a little bit further and deeper, in what you're going through, I would gather to say that you took your lemons and you have absolutely made lemonade. um, I know people who literally are dealing with this current diagnosis and they have decided that life is done, and you've not done that. You've not done that. What would you say to someone who is dealing with any kind of issue where they feel as if this is the end of the road for me, I might as well go ahead and sit down?
Wow. I would ask them to think about what your younger self would think about that. If
Yeah.
your 10-year-old self looking at you as an adult, would you want to be that role model, I guess, for the younger you?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, for me, when I was thinking about ending my life, um, I thought about my kids. I thought
Hmm.
about the effect it would have on them, and that
Yeah.
I just couldn't do that to them. That's what stopped me. That's what keeps me going.
Hmm.
But it's not a death sentence in terms of
Yeah.
who you are as a person. And if you got diagnosed with high blood pressure, or I don't
Right.
know, arthritis, would you be like, it's over?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's just the stigma just associated with it, and
Right.
the embarrassment of it, and I'm really actually kind of impressed with myself that I can even talk about it, because
Yeah.
before I just kept it so quiet. I didn't want
Yeah.
nobody to know.
Yeah.
Nobody. So I'm surprised that I can speak about it so freely. I wonder if my parents are so old school. I wonder how they feel about me, talking about this, because
Yeah.
and I grew up in a household that everything's private, no
Right.
emotions
Ooh.
except for anger. You can be
Mm-hmm.
mad, but no sadness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't let anybody know, your dirty laundry. So I'm always curious about what my mom and dad are who are in their 80s think about, what me speaking so freely about this. But back to your point, it's the advice I can give is, lean into it
Yeah.
and know that God makes no mistakes.
Mm.
This is
I love that.
happening for a reason.
Yeah.
You're shown this for a reason,
Yeah.
and continue to fight. Like I said, I was when you're hospitalized in the psych department or psych hospital, you're there because you're harm to yourself or to others.
Yeah.
And I was in there for 3 times, meaning I was trying to do harm to myself. So I know the feeling of wanting to give up and not wanting to live anymore. But I
Mm-hmm.
also know the feeling of climbing, fighting and clawing yourself out of a ditch so
Right.
you won't stay where so I wouldn't stay where I was. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the advice I can give, just to keep fighting, keep fighting.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And so, um, I'm not going to ask the normal, which is what's the good, the bad, and the ugly. I always ask every business owner that, because I think you answered that from the perspective of people not giving up. Um, so, you know what? Let's do it. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly of making a decision to go this route with your business? Because you're coming from sports, and I know that you still work out, you're exercising. Hey, shout out to the sisters over 50 who still get to the gym. I try to go at least 4 times a week. Our bodies are changing, so we're also in a different time. We're also in that window, and it's scary to me. I'm just going to be honest with you, because my body don't do like it used to do.
No.
So the impact of that and being in this different age range, you're working out, you're taking care of yourself, you're mentally ready, every single day. What is the good, the bad, and the ugly of making a decision to change your entire business model and go from this kind of coach to this kind of coach, where you're
Mm.
teaching people that mental toughness? What was that like?
Well, dang, it's hard because I have imposter syndrome at times, because I'm like, well, dang, I didn't even master this. How can I teach somebody else,
Yeah.
to master that? That's one side of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, the other side of it is that I'm in business again, and it was stressful before when I was in business,
Yeah.
and now I'm once again depending on myself for a paycheck. No,
Yeah.
not a paycheck, but to make money, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get clients.
Mm-hmm.
Am I in a 9 to 5 where money's coming in every 2 weeks? So that's the ugly part of it. you
Mm-hmm.
know and the bad, I guess the bad part of it is that this is, even though we're in 2023, this is still, people are still not sold on the need of it. Parents would
Mm.
rather pay a coach to work on their 3-point shot and their ball handling, rather than pay me to
Right.
work on the mental side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the dilemma right now. That even though we're in 2023, people still are not sold on this
Mm-hmm.
and want to necessarily invest in it.
Right. But it's really interesting, and I'm glad that you brought up Kobe Bryant. I know that he had a coach. He had a mindset coach. This guy literally all he did was support them in the mindset department, of course, and working with them in fitness and so forth, but working with them while they were working out. And so what you do is absolutely necessary, so that we can do the one thing that I know, that we can fly. You know, whatever that means for us, we definitely have the ability to do that. And I'm just going to say hats off to you. Big shout out to you for even walking through the imposter syndrome of thinking, wait a minute, well, what in the world am I doing? Because let me tell you something, we all deal with it. And I appreciate you and your honesty and your candor and sharing with us today, what you deal with and how you are moving forward. Because what I think I've heard is you're going to be coaching right now students, women athletes, people, because this is an issue. This is a thing. Like, think about it. It's really a thing. And so I think people really need to understand that we all need somebody that's going to remind us of how great we are. Even when we can't see it ourselves, we need to be reminded on a regular basis.
That's key. That is key. And that's why, that's, like I said, everything started in 2020 because I actually went to TikTok to talk to female athletes, to remind them that they are great, and that's how I got started in this, because I started getting a lot of questions about the mental side of the game. And that's what got me curious to get more educated in it. So it started from me going to TikTok, wanting to talk to female athletes and remind them how great they are, even when people tell them they're not great, and just spiral from there.
Mm-hmm. And so where can we find you, Val, right now?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Coach Val, and my content is geared towards uplifting the female athlete, as well as TikTok. And TikTok is just not for young folks. I'm on TikTok as well as I'm Coach Val also.
Yep. Okay. And there we have it at the bottom. I am Coach Val. She also has it next to her name, guys. So you can go ahead and check her out wherever she is. And she's got a ton of content over there. So I would absolutely reach out to her. You can also find her at iamcoachval.com. And so, Val, I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to kind of come and hang out with us, and talk about where you are, who you are, and where you're going. And the level of encouragement that I get from hearing your story reminds me of one thing, that we all have a story to tell. Everybody got a song to sing. But the thing is what do you do with the lyrics once you get them?
Right.
And you have made beautiful music with what you have been given.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And so I am appreciative of that. I'm excited because I can't wait to see you on some stages and doing some things, right? And just kind of hanging out and doing your thing, because what you offer is a chance for people to be their best selves. And that is a gift, even in everything that you've been through. It worked out. So look at that. Do you have any parting words for our audience today?
No, I don't. You said it all. We should just end it. Cut. End it right there.
I love it. All right. Well, you guys, this is Val Whiting, and she is I Am Coach Val. You guys, we're going to be seeing a lot more of Val in the coming months, so get ready for that here in the Brownstone. And once again, you guys know me. I'm Paulette. I'm a part of Brownstone Worldwide. We're in the Brownstone Worldwide studios. I want to thank you once again, Val. We're going to be seeing you once again, of course. We all know that, and I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, go ahead and check us out at brownstoneworldwide.com. We're going to be sharing some content with you guys about Val and what she's got coming up in the future, and how she's going to be hanging out in the Brownstone a little bit more in the future as well. You guys enjoy the rest of your workday. Get out there and make it great. We will see you on the next edition of, you guessed it, the Lunch and Learn Hour.